Today we're talking about cracking the code, mastering the art of marketing to data executives. I'm Brian Mink. I'm the co-founder of Data Science Connect with my wife, Amelia, who's right over there. So a little bit about our background. If you heard my opening remarks this morning, you heard some of it. But our background is, Amelia's is in healthcare, mine's in legal, both of which are pretty interesting spaces. If you have any kind of data background or you're involved in data, those are kind of unusual places to find data or folks working with data. So we collectively have experience as buyers, users, and also developers of a variety of data products. So we've seen kind of every aspect of the life cycle and ecosystem, and then now with our company, Data Science Connect, work with folks from all over the ecosystem, whether they be data scientists, data engineers, to chief data officers, to founders of tech startups that are marketing data solutions to large enterprises or small and mid-sized enterprises. And so we kind of see everything now through our experience with all of you guys and with our clients and partners. And so have a lot of experience and perspective that I'll talk a bit about. I also have experience as a corporate executive, both at a Fortune 300 company and then as in the C-suite of a large national hospitality chain. And Amelia has over 10 years of experience building communities, Data Science Atlanta, and then now Data Science Connect. So this really shapes the way that we view things. Our roots, Amelia was one of the original founders of Data Science Atlanta, ran that organization for many years, and that ultimately led us to Data Science Connect. This picture's from one of the last Data Science Atlanta events before DSC was started at the Honeywell headquarters in Atlanta, and packed house for Bill Frank's talk there. And that was really when we started talking about like, wow, we're really onto something here. Like Data Science Atlanta is really tapping into something that people want, which is community and connection. And that really frames a lot of the basis for what we do and the way that we approach DSC and helping our partners and all of you guys. So our perspective from our professional experience and from working with our partners at Data Science Connect is really multifaceted. There's a few things that we have found that are common themes when we work with data professionals and data solutions. One of these is that there are a lot of barriers to innovation, that there's a lot of really good technology that for one reason or another has not always caught on. And so figuring out how we address those barriers to innovation, how we connect really innovative technological solutions with organizations that are ready to buy and implement those is a core part of what we do, and helping data solutions tell their story to organizations that would benefit from their technology. We really focus on cross-industry applications. So not just one industry, not just siloed. I think what we've seen in working with folks across a variety of industries is there are a lot of transferable themes. And that's one of the first things when we first met each other, when we were talking about our experiences in healthcare and legal, we found a lot of commonalities, that a lot of the issues that we were experiencing were related to processes, were related to practitioner mindsets in those particular industries. And so a lot of the ways to go about implementing solutions, technological and data-driven solutions in those industries that historically have been resistant to that, you can learn a lot from each other. You can learn what's worked in healthcare, what's worked in legal, what's worked in other industries, and how do we transfer those learnings into other industries. And that's one of the benefits of this organization and talking with each other as you start to hear people say, you know, well, we did this at our organization and it really worked. And even though you guys are in a totally different industry, there's some transferable knowledge there. And that is really the heart of it, is the community and connection. You can learn all you want in school and from reading books and from playing around with various different technologies, but often you can learn it a lot faster and in a much more real and impactful and actionable way when you just sit down and talk to somebody and hear about their experiences, what's working, what's not working, and how they've handled that. And you can then take that and transfer it into what you're trying to do. Okay, so our community today has grown quite a bit, and a lot of this happened during COVID. So DSATL obviously had to stop meeting in person during that time. Data Science Connect, we had done by that point several conferences, could no longer do those in person. And so we started expanding virtually and hosting primarily free virtual events, and expanded to over 100,000 data professionals worldwide now, including 95% of the Fortune 500, 80 plus countries and have hosted 250 plus events, some of which are our events, some of which were partner events with our clients. We've hosted those since 2012. And our community now is heavily executive. It's about half and half executive and practitioner, about 31% director level, 25% C-suite. And then on the practitioner side, a lot of data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, data architects. So we've got the full spectrum of data professionals. And so we get to see both sides of it. We get to see the folks who really have their hands in the data and who are doing the really highly technical work that's very important. We get to see the executive side where folks are more business-minded, more focused on the ROI. And then we also work with a lot of data solutions providers who are trying to market to those audiences. And so we get to consult with them on what's working for them and try to help them provide content that's going to be engaging to our audience. Okay, so that's fundamentally what we've become is we are connecting enterprises and other organizations with data solutions, primarily by providing high quality content that data professionals want to consume. And that's going to be a core theme of this presentation is when you're trying to market to these folks, you need to provide high quality content that they want to consume. So one of these discussions is the technological decision makers versus economic decision makers, TDMs versus EDMs, and we hear our clients sometimes use this language. The technological decision makers, kind of the practitioner half of our audience, is more focused on the technical details. They're interested in innovation and problem solving and understanding the latest technology and leveraging it. And they might be less concerned with sort of the short-term ROI. They're more concerned with solving a problem. And that's really valuable. It's a valuable perspective within organizations, and they serve a valuable role. On the other hand, you have economic decision makers, EDMs, who often want quick wins and cost effectiveness. These are your directors of data science, your chief data officers. These are the folks who've been tasked with a business problem, and they often have the technological expertise. They may have even been a practicing data scientist or data engineer or data architect, and now they have a more senior function where they are more focused on the bottom line, on the budget, on organizational priorities. And so they're focused on these organizational strategic priorities in a much different way. So it's not just focused on solving the problem as they see it, it's really focused on organizational alignment. So if you're an executive, particularly in a large organization, the organization already has a strategic plan. You're not coming up with a strategic plan as the chief data officer. The organization has a strategic plan that has been developed by the CEO, blessed by the board of directors. And so it's not your job to go off on your own and say, I'm going to solve all the problems and here's how I'm going to do it. It is to be in alignment with that organizational objective. And that frames the way that economic decision makers think is they have to show at the end of the year when I go and report my scorecard to the CEO of this company, how am I going to show that I was in alignment with what the organization has decided its strategic priorities to be, and what KPIs can I show progress on? How can I show that I move the needle on those particular objectives? So that's a key piece of the puzzle here when you are a data solution provider and you're thinking, how do I sell this to a data executive? You need to understand not just what the problem is and how they think, but you also need to understand what are their organization's broader strategic objectives and how do I fit my product within that strategic objective. And then another key piece of this is these folks are leaders within their organization. That's how they got to be where they are. They're leaders and they have a lot of credibility in their organization. So everything they do, they have to position themselves in a way that is maintaining and furthering that credibility. And so if they take a chance on something, like they take a chance on software that is not fully vetted, they take a chance on something that is not, from a security standpoint, not as sound as maybe other products on the market, they are putting their credibility at risk. So that is the way that they think, and they might be more risk averse than other folks like data scientists, for instance, who are just trying to solve a problem. This executive might be more risk averse because they understand that if this goes south, I'm going to jeopardize my internal credibility, jeopardize my ability to get resources in the future, and maybe even jeopardize my ability to keep my job. Okay, so who is this data executive, this mysterious data executive persona? These folks, they tend to be business-minded. They are visionary leaders. And they often are overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there. They're constantly trying to figure out, what are our competitors doing? What are the latest technological trends? And they need to have all this information. It's very important that they know it, they know what's going on, but it's overwhelming trying to follow all of this information and trying to craft a vision while also, again, being very business-minded and often risk-averse. So those are the different priorities that they are juggling. And what this means is that when you talk to these folks, what you think their barriers might be, what you think their pain points might be, are in fact very different than what you'd expect. So often, a lot of times, they are issues, very specific issues with their legacy tech stack. We cannot implement your solution because we have X, we have X solution already that we've been using for decades, and we can't get away from it, right? This is a legacy solution. We've wanted to unwind it for years, but it costs a lot of money, takes a lot of political capital, takes a lot of work, a lot of bandwidth, and it's not going to happen this year. It might not happen next year. It might not happen in 5 years, right? So they've got a lot of these things that they probably stepped into that if they were to design things from scratch today in the optimal way, they'd do it very differently. But they're dealing with this legacy tech stack. They've got to deal with data silos throughout their organization. And we've seen it in the last few years, there's this increasing trend that more and more organizations have chief data officers or chief analytics officers or CDAOs or some similar title. But prior to the last few years, a lot of organizations didn't have anything like that. They had various different analytics teams within their organization in the various different business units that might be touching data. And a lot of that data is siloed, a lot of those people are siloed, and that still exists in many large organizations. So these data silos are something that they have to deal with. Again, it's a legacy problem. If you were designing it today, you might not do it this way. But as a data executive, you have to deal with these data silos, and that impacts what solutions you might be willing to invest in for your organization and the types of implementation issues that go into that when you've now got to figure out, all right, well, there are all these different business units who touch this solution. How do I roll this out to a variety of stakeholders throughout the company? And that gets to that last point, which is political capital, and that is that these executives are fearful of exercising their political capital on something that's not going to work. So if you're trying to sell your solution to an organization, you've got to overcome that hurdle. A good executive isn't going to be unreasonably risk averse. There are some risks that are worth taking. There are things that you have to do in business in order for the business to move forward, but it's a hurdle that you have to overcome as a solution provider to say, look, the risk isn't as significant as you think, or the risk of doing nothing, the risk of maintaining the status quo is actually much worse than taking this risk on adopting our solution because your data currently isn't secure, or because your PII is exposed, or because there could be an outage. There's lots of things that you could say potentially that would be risks that are worse from doing nothing than adopting your solution. But that's what you've got to frame it. You've got to frame it as, this is worth your political capital for these reasons. Okay, so what this means for you if you're trying to market a solution to a data executive is that you have to cut through all of this noise. There's a ton of content for these folks to consume. You've got to find a way to cut through it and speak their language. You have to focus on use cases and business cases. So this is one of the biggest tips that we give to our clients that we work with in developing content for executives is these executives, if you start getting down into the nitty-gritty technical aspects of your product, that might be really, really interesting to a data scientist or a data engineer or a data architect or data analyst or someone who is technically minded. But as an executive, they aren't looking to get bogged down in that. What they want to know is, what does this do for my organization? How am I going to implement it? And then what impact is it going to have on the bottom line? What is the use case and what is the business case that I can take to other executives in my organization to say, this is worth spending our money, it's worth investing our human resources. And it's very important that you establish credibility from the outset. Remember I said they're fearful of taking the risk on something that's not tested because it's going to burn their political capital. So you've got to establish credibility that your solution is a risk worth taking or that it's a risk not to adopt your solution. So a few ideas for how you would market to this audience. Number one, tap into existing watering holes. So selfishly, we are one of those watering holes. So I would say Data Science Connect is one way of doing this. But basically, go where the executives are. Go where they already are to consume content. It's a lot easier to tap into an existing audience than to try to create that audience from scratch and build that credibility, particularly if that's not your core business. A core part of our business at Data Science Connect is building that audience and providing that content. If it's not your core business as a solutions provider, you may not want to get bogged down in that. Partnering with other executives. So executives want to hear from other similar executives. They want to hear from like-minded folks. So if you're trying to tap into an audience of chief data officers, maybe you can find other chief data officers who might be your customers or folks that you know, or folks that you meet at a conference like this, that you could have be on a panel, that you could have them do a talk. So find ways to tap into that audience by partnering with other folks in that audience. Benchmarking resources. So data executives are very big on benchmarking. They want to know what other organizations are doing, what others in their industry are doing, what the trends are, where their fellow executives see things going. So that is one way that you can get them to look at your content, is to provide some kind of benchmarking resource. And we'll talk about some examples of that in a second. Then leading with the problem or opportunity. I think a lot of solutions providers, they want to lead with their product, right? They're very excited about the technical aspects of their product. A lot of people who are founders of data solutions are CTO type folks. They are very technical people who understand the very technical details of their products and want to explain those to people. And on the data executive side, they're really focused with their problem or with their opportunity. So what is the business case for this? What use cases are there? So if you lead with that, you entice them with that, and they say, yeah, that is a problem for me. That is a really big problem within our organization, or I really wish we were taking advantage of that data. You lead with that, and then you say, by the way, we have a solution that solves your problem. And that's often a much more effective pitch than leading with your solution that they may have never heard of and may not realize that they need. And finally, developing a long-term relationship. So this is particularly true of large enterprises where even a senior executive is not going to be the sole decision maker. You really need to have more of an account-based marketing strategy where you're looking at various folks on the data team, various folks who are going to ultimately have to vet this product. And so having that long-term relationship can be very helpful, and it may not materialize into anything in 3 months or 6 months, but maybe in a year or 2 years, they'll come back to you and now, oh, we weren't ready to implement that solution before, but now we are, and you're top of mind now that we know that we're in the market for that type of solution. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples of how we've done this for partners. So one is the benchmarking survey. We had a Series C privacy startup who was looking to brand themselves as a thought leader in this space. They had a unique product that managed access to various different types of data as a way of managing PII. And so we did a custom survey for them focused on their ICPs, their ideal customer profile. And this is something that if they tried to do it on their own, these folks probably wouldn't respond to them, but we already had this community that we were able to tap into, send these folks a survey, ask them to fill it out, and then we provided the results of that survey anonymized to everybody who filled out the survey. So we provided the benefit of, hey, you get this benchmarking as an executive, you get these results of this benchmarking survey that you can then use within your organization to inform your strategy. And it also provided the benefit to the Series C startup of all of this data, this rich data that they were able to use to both inform their audience as a thought leader and also to inform their product marketing strategy as they figured out, well, what aspects of our product are most important to our ideal customer profile, our data executives that we're marketing to. And the chief marketing officer of that company said, this is data gold. This is something we're going to use not just to inform our marketing strategy, but to inform our product itself. Okay, executive roundtables. So we did this for a Fortune 30 company that was looking to overhaul their their product marketing strategy for edge computing and data management. So they were trying to market this particularly in the manufacturing and supply chain context, edge computing, data closer to its source, and they were trying to figure out what is it that we should be marketing with these products. And so we gathered some of their ideal customer profiles together in a room, some senior data executives from large companies, And they were able to ask them, what are your biggest pain points around data management and edge computing, and get valuable information in how they developed their product and how they ultimately marketed their product. And then finally, community building. So we had a Series B startup that was building a niche feature engineering product, open source community, and they were trying to drive folks to their open source community. So we were able to build several meetups for them, developed 1,000 members in less than 6 months, 7 cities in 3 countries, and then ultimately we were able to leverage that for several successful in-person events that they did around this niche feature engineering product. And that's another good example of community building. So once you build the community, then that community is there for you to take advantage of. And so you build that community up by providing quality content, by getting those folks into some kind of group that you're able to market to, and then to actually continue to provide that content and drive them ultimately to your product. So particularly if you're an early stage startup, this can be a really powerful thing. You know, you may not have the dollars to deploy for large scale events or, you know, elaborate marketing strategies, but it doesn't take much to start some meetups, to produce some content, to start getting folks using your open source product. And that can really lead you to a lot of key relationships and feedback on your product that ultimately will inform the conversations and features that you later market to your buyers of larger organizations. So we appreciate all of you being here today. Appreciate all of you being here today, and would love for you to partner with us if you're a data solution provider. And of course, for those of you who are here to enjoy all the content, we are so proud to have you here and happy that that you're contributing to our community. So thank you very much.